caste has become today one of the major discourses in political, social, cultural, and religious spheres in India. Anybody who is of some prominence in public life feels forced to speak up on caste issue for or against it. The recent developments in Tamil Nadu politics over the controversy of Manusmriti or Tamil nationalism and the protest in Tamil Nadu Catholic Church over the appointment of bishops from the Dalit Christian community all speak very loudly of the existence of caste discrimination in the society and in the church. Thus, there is a growing caste anti-caste consciousness in Indian ethos, politics, ethics, development discourse, construction of modern India. Everything spin around caste and anti-caste movement. The inspiration for such an orientation was from the historical life of Jesus and the emergence of liberation theology in Latin America in the late 60s and the 70s. After working nearly 3 decades in the social and educational fields, a caste-free society remains for me a utopian idea. As we may realize, a caste-free society does not come about in the air or overnight. Ways and means have to be worked out in the educational, economic, political, social, religious, and cultural spheres which safeguard the existence of caste-mindedness. In this context, Jesuit came out with the admission and appointment policies under the preferential option for the poor in 1984 through its vision statement towards liberation together with the poor, which was further sharpened as towards liberation together with Dalits in 1987. These vision statements were carved out in view of addressing the problem of caste discrimination very concretely through policies on admission to Dalit students and appointment of Dalit candidates in our institutions. While appreciating the great achievements of admission of students and staff in our institutions from Dalit and Dalit Christian communities, the desired goal of reaching the full and proportionate representation of Dalits in our institutions still remains a distant dream. Statistics of admission to various courses in higher secondary and higher education institutions and appointment of teachers and other office and administrative staff since the policy for Dalit Christians were created will prove this. Unless and until we are convinced that all are equal in every respect and preferring the weaker over the stronger so that we can overcome every form of discrimination, this problem will continue. Hence, it is not the policy that is problematic, rather it is our mindset and our general consciousness which is fundamentally casteist that we need to address. Once this is addressed, our commitment to annihilation of caste or our dream of realizing a caste-free society will be very soon possible. Pamplona War and its defeat, Mandri's experience, attending classes with the students whose age was just half of his, and his personal spiritual experiences all made St. Ignatius a totally transformed person. He was deeply in touch with God, with himself, and with the world to see the changes taking place in him so that he could initiate the same in the society through his companions. This is the blueprint of a caste-free society in India as far as the members of the Society of Jesus is concerned. How far have we taken the mind of St. Ignatius? How far have we made his vision our vision? How much have we lived the spiritual exercises, one of the greatest contributions of St. Ignatius to the Jesuits and the Church? These are some of the very pertinent questions that we need to answer in our life. The caste-free society in India need not be a utopian idea or unachievable dream. It can very well become a reality if we shed off the old ways as St. Ignatius, put on the new ways as our founder, and set the world on fire, a fire that kindles other fires.